Alright, we've arrived to round number 3, and how lucky that round number 3 is going to be solely devoted to the Diaz brothers. I know I kind of made this up on the spot, but I figured it was time that we had ourselves a discussion. Let's get straight to the point. Why am I talking about the Diaz brothers? It's quite simple. You see, the Diaz brothers are always in mixed martial arts news and in the media's minds and in the back of our minds in general. See, the Diaz brothers are always in the back of our minds because they are some of the most exciting guys to watch in the fight game. Not only are they most exciting to watch in the cage, but they're also the most exciting to watch outside of the cage. Their antics outside the cage has made them this popular force and the reason as to why the people are always looking to wanting to see them fight. If it wasn't for their action, their personality, and who they are in general, many people wouldn't care as much. But due to the fact that these guys are just, they're no holds bars and don't give a F selves, that's what makes them so appreciative, because we can correlate and we can relate to these people, to these guys. We understand what it's like to be put in a position where you're like, you guys are treating me like crap, and why do I have to do it this way? No, I'm gonna do things my way. And that is the Diaz brother approach. We show you that we're interested. Now make us a lucrative offer, otherwise you know what, F off, I'm out, I don't need this, I got my own stuff that I'm doing. They are Cannabis Cup winners, they are marathon winners, they have done cycling, not spinning, I was about to say, they have done some cycling, they have almost done a Tour de France-esque kind of competition. This is how good these guys are, this is how good their cardio is, and this is how well in shape that they keep. Even though they're doing this partying and they're smoking and they're doing that, they are constantly in the gym and they are constantly active in improving their skills, whether it be in boxing, whether it be at cycling for long distances, whether it be for swimming in long distances, whether it even be running at a long distance and for a long period of time. And they are also some of the best BJJ practitioners. When it comes to their jiu-jitsu game, there is nobody that is just as good as they are. They are black belts under the Cesar Gracie roof. They train with some of the best fighters. Jake Shields, Gilbert Melendez, Nick and Nate, and many others. They've got Joe Schilling in their camp. They've got some of the best all-around fighters who are there to make them better and improve their skills. But what's the problem with the Diaz brothers? Why have we not seen Nick fight since his fight against Anderson Silva? Where has he been for the last 4 to 5 years? What has he been doing? Well, the fact is he was suspended for close to 2 years due to the fact that they found a small metabolite of marijuana in his system, THC to be exact. Apparently there was such a small amount that was found in his system that they had to make a big deal about it. The fact that the Nevada Commission had to make such a big deal over the fact that the Diaz brother, Nick Diaz, had a small amount of THC in his system is fucking ridiculous. And I've been trying not to swear in this whole entire show, but let's face fact, you found a small amount of THC. This is not like his fight against Takanori Gomi, where he came in there, basically blitzed out of his mind and still subbed him. This is a fight where he possibly did something prior to the event or even the same night of the event, and that's where they found it and they made a big deal about it and they suspended it. So you want to wonder why Nick Diaz hasn't fought in so long? It's because of bullshit like that. You're keeping guys who, first of all, are not really big fans of fighting. They've said it time and time again that they don't compete. They don't fight because they enjoy it. They fight because it is the only thing they know how to do. And if they had the option, they would not fight. And Nick has gone on to say that if he had a choice, he would never have made his brother get into this world. He would rather him do anything other than compete in mixed martial arts. And I can understand why. This is not a sport that you get into unless you truly have a passion for or your intent is to be the best at it. And for the Diaz brothers, their goal has just simply been, this is what I'm good at and I can make a big chunk of money off of this. Unfortunately for Nick and Nate, they have been tossed around and joked around and paid a small substantial amount as opposed to what they should be getting. You see, Conor McGregor is making these millions of dollars when the Diaz brothers have been the face and the focus and have had the interest of the population of the mixed martial arts fan base for quite some time. When Nick misses a press conference against GSP, the fans are not up in arms in anger. The fans are loving every minute of it. They're wondering where's he at. When Conor McGregor does it, it's a whole stunt and a show. So what's it going to take to get Nick back in the cage? Well, Nick was supposed to be taking on Jorge Masvidal in the upcoming months. Unfortunately, Nick said, no, I never agreed to that, F off. You see, it comes down to money. Unless you're offering them, like I said, a substantial amount of money to get into that cage, they don't see any reason as to why they should compete. They know what their name is worth. They know what their name brings to the table. Alright? And for those of you who want to argue that their name doesn't bring any value, listen. Nate Diaz competed against Conor McGregor in 2 fights, and both those fights, one crossing $1 million mark, the other came close to crossing $1 million mark in terms of pay-per-view buys. Now you could say it was because of Conor McGregor's popularity, but at the end of the day, Nate Diaz did an insane job at selling this fight. You see, he didn't back down from any of the trash talk. He wasn't intimidated by Conor McGregor. He went out and he fought Conor at his own game. He stood face to face and they slugged it out for 5 rounds in one fight and for 2 rounds in another fight until he was subbed by Nate Diaz. See, Nate's been on the shelf also. He was supposed to be competing against Dustin Poirier at the UFC in Madison Square Garden on November the 25th, I believe it was, of 2018. What happened was Dustin Poirier got injured and Nate was just not interested in any other fight. The fact that they were even able to get Nate interested in a Dustin Poirier fight goes to show you that they promised him something big. They either promised him a fight against Conor McGregor, a potential title shot, or just a lucrative amount of money. Now Nate, as of yesterday, has gone on to Twitter to attack Khabib when Khabib posted a picture of him manhandling Conor McGregor. Nate Diaz went on to respond, you should be all proud of that, but remember when I slapped the taste out of you and your brother's mouth and you guys did nothing about it. For those of you who don't know the reference I'm making, I'm talking about when they appeared at WSOF, now known as Pro Fight League, and they met on the outside skirts of the cage, where they were just simply fans and outside the arena surrounded by other fans just like them. They crossed paths and words were exchanged, and the Diaz brothers did not appreciate the words being used, which led to that Nick and Nate slapping the taste out of the Khabib family. Listen, this is a fight that is very interesting and one that many people would watch. Khabib taking on Nate, that would be hellacious. Khabib taking on Nick, that would be even bigger. Any of these fights are something that interests you, but the question is, why have the Diaz brothers not been competing? And it comes down to money. You're not offering them the right matchups. You're not offering the right amount of money. An Eddie Alvarez fight for Nate Diaz does nothing for him. A Dustin Poirier fight gets him in a potential conversation and a lucrative amount of money because let's face facts, he beat Dustin Poirier and Dustin's chopping out the bid for a potential title shot against the likes of Khabib. Now you've got a reason as to why Nate is somewhat of an interest. It is a shame that the Diaz brothers don't compete as often as they do, due to the fact that there are some exciting matchups that myself and the majority of the MMA fan base would love to see them in. Look, we've been blessed with the fact that we got to see Nate versus Conor, Nick versus George. We've got to see some big matchups over the last couple of years, but they've been quite honestly spread out in terms of how often they compete. It is something that quite honestly intrigues me due to the fact that they don't compete as often as they used to, but the fans still love them. The fans still clamor to see them. The fans still want to watch them fight regardless. Their social media numbers are huge. They post something and the world knows about it and the media is already talking about it because that's how big of a name they are, and that is something that the UFC needs to take note. Listen, it's 2019. Both these guys have almost not... Nick for sure has not fought in almost 5 years at this point. Nate has almost not fought in a span. His last fight was against Conor McGregor, the second one, and since then Conor's fought a boxing match and fought Khabib. Therefore, Nate has been almost out 3 years. And the fans are still clamoring to see him fight or potentially see him maybe for a title shot. And that's crazy to think. So look guys, the UFC, you need to take note of this. There is a huge market for both these individuals, both these fighters. The fans want them, so there's no reason as to why we're not seeing them in that cage. Now you could argue it's their fault, but look, if you're going to start handing whatever Conor McGregor wants, why not do the same in terms of what these guys bring to the table? And that is excitement, that is ratings, and that is money. Now you could say that Nick and Nate don't sell tickets, which was originally said that a long time ago by Dana White, but that is Dana selling you some wolf ticket bullshit. That is the truth. That is round number 3 for me. That is it for 3 rounds with Jay. I thank you all once again for tuning in and for joining me this week. I'd like to tell you, as always, please subscribe and share with your friends. Let them know what the picks are, what the predictions are for UFC on ESPN. ESPN, TJ Dillashaw versus Henry Cejudo for the UFC Flyweight Championship of the World. Let them all know what's going on. As always, subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, and my links to my social media accounts are all at the bottom: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's always the same thing. It's never gonna change. Send me a comment, send me a like, send me a shout out, send me some pics if you want, but please, no dicks. Anything but that. With all of that said, I bid you a great Tuesday and a great rest of the week. I will see you next week with 3 rounds with Jay, and enjoy the fights this upcoming Saturday, January the 19th, live and only on ESPN+. Peace.